Hi, welcome to another Q&A for San Francisco Indie Fest 2024. I'm Jason Wolos, one of the programmers here at SF Indie Fest, and we are lucky enough to have Seyun, the director-writer of Nyctophobia. Am I saying that right? Nyctophobia?
Nyctophobia.
Nyctophobia. Hey, Seyun, thanks for joining us.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from LA. So I'm
Excellent.
currently, living in LA. I used to live in New York City, but I moved to LA a couple of years ago.
Got it.
So,
Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you made the movie. Fascinating film.
thank you.
Uh, it kind of looks like it was shot in the New York area. Where did you produce it? Where did you shoot it?
I shot it in New York City and Queens, also New Jersey.
Because that home that the character's in looks kind of like a queen's home. I recognize
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and why did you shoot it in New York? Were you living there before you moved to LA?
Yeah, so I live in New York City. And actually when I was shooting it, New York was still in lockdown. So, but I wanted to make something. I wanted to make something in lockdown because the future was not clear, and my colleagues and my friends decided to leave the industry. So it was really unfortunate, but yeah, I don't know. Like at that time, I was also dealing with nyctophobia, which is a form of anxiety disorder triggered by this intense fear of darkness, of the darkness. So I wanted to write a story about nyctophobia. So
And did you write it, come up with it during the lockdown, during pandemic?
yeah,
And you completed it during pandemic?
yeah, at least the shooting portion. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah,
Wow. So the pandemic, sitting around, you wanted to be creative, so you came up with a project. And why did you choose this topic, this theme, nyctophobia? I know you said you suffer from it.
yeah. When I was younger, I suffered from it uh, for a long time, but it went away as after I grew up. But for some reason, in the pandemic, it came back. So usually, when you have nyctophobia, it's more about your sleeping issues because you are afraid of, the darkness. So you feel like something is going to come up from the closet. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing because when you have it as an adult person, like it's embarrassing. So you don't want to talk about it. But when you have it, you have this sleeping issue, mostly insomnia or sleep paralysis. So when I was dealing with it, I wanted to know if there are people who are also dealing with the same thing. So I went to different forums and also online forums, and I found a lot of people who are actually suffering from sleeping issues at least. So I wanted to write a story about it, kind of like to represent a community of these people
Yeah, yeah,
who were dealing with it but not talking about it because
right.
they're kind of
Well,
embarrassed.
yeah, yeah. Maybe it's embarrassing because you feel like you grow up that you should be then over things. But
Yeah.
I can personally relate to that. I've had those sensations or those moments. You captured a couple in the film. It's like I've lived those things, and I
Mhm.
wonder if all humans
Yeah.
suffer or experience at least a little bit of what your movie captures.
I think so.
I,
Yeah.
I mean, you really touched a moment to jump ahead here. The one where she's like paralysis, a sleep paralysis, where
Yeah.
your character is like wrapped up and tied and floating.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
had that exact sensation.
Yes. It's really scary. It's
It's
nothing
very
actually,
scary.
it's scientific. It's like your body not interpreting what's going on. So it's just science. But when you're actually suffering from it, it's really, really scary. It's like this unknown figure just trying to choke you, trying to like
Yes,
kill you.
yes. I've had
Yeah.
that exactly, but I
Yeah.
don't suffer from this, in long term. Those were specific events in my life, so that's why I've never forgotten them, even though you're sleeping, but I've never forgotten them because they were memorable.
Yeah.
And it's exactly as you described. And I almost thought that it was it was dangerous, like it could have been fatal, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it
Mhm.
was.
It's not fatal. It's just
Okay.
you feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
not gonna wake up.
Yeah.
And then, so I think all sorts of all ages of people can relate to this, and not as severe as you do or did
Mhm.
because of your condition,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's embarrassing,
I think so. Yeah.
well, well, maybe the part of like thinking like there's someone in the closet or there's a clown. Explain the clown figure. I
I mean, that can be literal. It's just that maybe my main character is afraid of clowns. That's also anxiety disorder, condition.
oh,
So there are people who are literally afraid of clowns. So it could be that she's afraid of clowns, or it's a metaphor, you
I
know.
see. I see.
So it's up for interpretation, actually.
Yeah, I like that. And then you have a couple different places to be interpreted, different metaphors. Explain like to me, I didn't quite understand, although I love the scene, the kind of the cabaret, the flapper singing jazz scenes. What are
Yeah.
those about?
That's just her, being in the lucid dream state.
Mm,
So when you have a lucid dream, it's not actually a dream. You're not in the sleeping mode. You're about to go into the sleeping mode. And so in a way, you are stuck in between reality and a dream. So a lot of things can happen. Some people think it's a hallucination. It's not. It's just like your body trying to understand what's going on, trying to go into the sleeping mode. So I just want to create like different scenarios, like based on my main character's experience. And
mm,
then, so she can be like a model, like a singer. She can be like a student, or she can be like just a regular person, just trying to going through with
right.
emotion. But then there's this glass barrier where there are two cops, clown cops, which they're actually the representation of nightmares, actually. So they're present to block her from going back to reality. So for the whole
And so,
sequence, it's about her trying to go back to reality,
got it. So
basically.
when she's fighting, trying to break through that force into
Mhm.
the clown cops, she's trying
Yeah,
to break back into reality.
yeah, yeah,
I see. Okay, thank you for explaining that too. Um, well, and then so very knowledgeable representations of all these scenarios. Did you do a lot of research just for your own knowledge,
yeah.
or also for researching for the making of the movie?
Um, I've always been interested in dreams or different dream states because of my experience,
Mhm.
lucid dreams or dream paralysis, paralysis, I guess. So,
Yeah,
so I did a lot of research before making this movie, and then, but I
just for
didn't
just for your own.
for my own knowledge. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and then it just
But
lent itself to making the movie.
right, yeah, yeah.
So how easy was? Did you have a fully developed script before you started filming?
Yeah, so writing a script was not that difficult because of my knowledge. Also, it was an experimental movie, so it was not a difficult part. I guess the difficult part came along when I was going out and shoot, because a lot of locations were closed still temporarily because of the lockdown in New York
Right.
City.
Yeah.
Also, it was really challenging to find crew members because they left New York City. They live not, at that point they lived in Austin, like a
Right.
Texas, Tennessee, or something like that. So it was really challenging to find those people, the right people for the project. And then when you're shooting, two crew members of mine got COVID,
Mm.
so we had to shut down
Yeah.
the production.
Yeah. Making a movie's hard, period. And then you did it during the middle
Yeah,
of the pandemic when it's
yeah,
even more difficult.
yeah. And then we had to wear masks the whole
Yeah.
time. And then there was snowstorm going on
Yeah.
before the shoot, so it was very challenging to shoot in New York
Yeah. That's
City.
an understatement. So how long did it take you? Like, what was your intended shooting length? Like, how many days?
Initially, it was about 10 days, but we are behind on schedule, so we had to go back. And also, like I said, the two people caught COVID, so we had to go back to reshoot some of the scenes and then, to finish everything. So in total, it took about 20 or 25 days to shoot
Wow.
everything.
Wow. And then your lead actress, how did you find her? She's wonderful in it too. She's very wonderful to watch. She's engaging and very believable.
Yeah, yeah, she was wonderful. So I found her on Backstage, actually.
Ah, okay.
So I went through auditions, 2 or 3 auditions, but she stood out. So I found her. And then she flew to New York City from Austin. She used to live in New York City, but she moved to Austin, Texas.
Uh-huh.
So we had to bring her back to New York City for the shoot.
Wow. And you're making me think of other questions regarding like bringing people from out of town during pandemic and
Yeah.
hosting them or putting them up. That must have been a challenge too. Just
Yeah.
having people find places to stay, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have a low budget.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What were some other challenges making the movie, filmmaking wise, not just pandemic wise, but filmmaking wise?
Um, I mean, this movie alone.
Did you realize what you kind of saw in your head or in your script?
Yeah, yeah. So that was not a difficult part, but yeah, after the shoot, actually the post-production process was really challenging because I knew what I wanted to make, what I wanted to achieve,
Yeah,
but I didn't know how many VFX shots I would need. I actually had to use 300 shots, yeah, for my VFX artists, so they could actually design them, like change them to
the
make
effects.
them look, yeah, believable. So I had to extract all those 300 shots with my editor, and it took about 8 months or 9 months to complete that. But after that, I had to change the colors. The color grading process took about 1 year, actually. So yeah,
Wow.
I already talked to him already before the shoot.
Uh-huh.
So I knew the color schemes, color patterns, because I wanted to tell a story visually based on the color
Sure.
patterns. But like after the samples he sent me, like the colors were not quite right. So we were trying to figure out the right colors for each like a world, the
Yeah,
inner
yeah.
world, like a subconscious world and everything. But then like so it took about like maybe 8 months to complete that. But after that, I found some red smudges like popping up everywhere.
Uh-huh.
So from then on, we had to like go through each frame from frame to frame to find
Oh,
out that every single frame was clean. So that took about 4 months, another 4 months.
you're patient.
Yeah,
Well, and it paid off. It's I love those moments with the color, the effects in different colors. I mean, even right from the beginning. Well, right from the beginning, your whole title sequence is cool,
thank you.
right? I mean, um, it really well done. Like a graphic novel coming to life, like a comic book coming to life, just for the title sequence. So you've hooked me right from the beginning with that, which
Thank
great
you.
job. But then one that I mean, there's lots of wonderful moments of where you implement color, but I particularly like where she's in the forest or in the park, in the fork in the road, and the leaves are green but gray. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and now I can see how that would take so long.
Yeah.
So you know, how did you finally get to those moments where it's like these are green, the star, the sand speckles, and the sand of the beach, or the screen, all that stuff? That must have just
Yeah.
been complicated.
Yeah, so for the inner world, so basically when she's trying to fall asleep, so she's innering herself, or entering her inner world that she has designed for herself. So like walking down the forest or going to the beach. So I wanted to show like the colors that will represent calmness or meditation. So I chose
Ah,
the color like green and blue. So like also it's kind of like calm and peaceful, like in
yeah,
the
yeah,
setting. So I
sure.
wanted to use those colors. But then in the dream sequence, because no matter what, like there's kind of dangerous. There's a danger posed against her, especially coming from the cops. Like those are nightmares. So I wanted to choose the color red to represent a danger for the main character.
Right.
So
And then also, it was kind of funny that you have the Tetris, right? She has a screen. She's in bed, and the Tetris is
yeah,
coming down,
yeah.
and that actually puts her to sleep a little bit. She,
Yeah, that was exactly what I did before. So, or counting sheep, you know. Yeah.
well, and not to digress, but sleeping is becoming more of an issue for people in the world
Yeah.
nowadays. Did you
Mhm.
hear about this?
Yeah.
Know about that? Why do you think that is?
The pandemic and this
Yeah,
unknown, future that we
yeah.
have now. So
I think also, people are bringing. You open the movie, she has her iPad or whatever, like she's trying to
mhm.
meditate.
Yeah, social media. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I think
yeah.
the screens coming into our
Mhm.
bedroom are part of the problem, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you think that you still find that intrusive having the phone, the screen in your
Yeah. But it's hard to not use, your devices. I tried not to watch anything on my iPad before going to bed, but it's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard. So,
Yeah, I know, we're glued to it. So, and then, you know, did you realize, did you kind of make the movie you envisioned? Do you think you achieved what you wanted to show?
I think so.
You don't sound sure.
Yeah, I
It's
think
a
so.
fast,
Yes.
I mean, did you always intend it to be, let's say, you know, it's a little bit experimental, it's a little bit
Yes.
horror film?
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, that was the format that I wanted to go for because I wanted to have more freedom for creativity. So for this movie, I wanted to make an experimental movie with some horror components to it.
Okay.
But you know, in general, people don't make experimental movies nowadays. So I was a little bit concerned about that. Like, would people love my movie? You know,
Yeah.
would they understand my movie? But yeah, so but I'm glad that I was able to make it, you know,
Yeah, for
based
sure.
on the story that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's really fascinating. It's visually stunning too.
thank you.
Um, uh, and you know, it's just an amazing thing to watch. I also don't know if I can watch. I think I started watching the movie before, you know, nighttime before bed, and I said I can't. I got to do this during the day.
Yeah.
Did this movie, does it help release some of your, you know, ailments, or does it help, you know, you sleep better by completing this? You think?
Not entirely, but yeah. But I'm not afraid of maybe clowns anymore.
Right, right. Or is this your first feature film?
Yes, yeah.
And maybe you're not afraid of making feature films anymore either. You're more confident, right?
Yes, yeah.
What's something you may have learned about yourself, or learned about filmmaking after completing this?
Um, I guess you have to plan well ahead of a shoot or even a, you know, a post-production process. I knew what I was doing, but still there are many more elements that I didn't know beforehand, like in VFX artists or especially for VFX, you know, sequences, it's better to bring in a VFX supervisor on set. And that would really help a lot for the future. I
Yeah.
didn't know about that. Also, I had a really low budget,
Right,
so
right,
I
sure.
couldn't bring
So,
one for the set. But in the future, I'm gonna try to bring one if
right.
I really have to use VFX sequences for my movie or
What was
movie.
your hardest challenge in production, or what, let's do it in two parts. What was your hardest challenge in production, you know,
Mhm,
on set, and then
mhm.
with the visual effects, which one was the hardest one?
In production, as I mentioned before, it was mostly about finding locations and also dealing with the circumstances,
Hmm.
like wearing masks and you know trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
We're bringing in a COVID officer, I think. So you have
Yep.
to have one on set. So that's more
Yeah.
money you're
Yeah.
talking about. So budget. But
Uh-huh.
in post production, oh yeah, there's a VFX, you know, sequences, also color grading. I mean, that was really challenging, you know, trying to find the right person, right people for the project. Because sometimes you think this is the right person, but you know, he's
I
not,
I hear you.
and or the results are not quite right. And
Yeah, yeah, I
then,
hear you. I hear you. And
yeah,
sometimes you don't find out until you're kind of already in the relationship and then
yeah,
this isn't
mhm,
working out.
yeah,
And
that's
like you said, with
difficult.
a low budget where you only have one
Yeah,
person, like they're doing a lot.
yeah,
That's a lot of responsibility. It's hard to
yeah,
find the
yeah,
right match.
yeah.
And then, well, speaking of the facts too, and locations, did you do all the location scouting yourself? Or did you have
Yeah.
some? Did you had? I mean, you have multiple locations. You know, like the house, and then the classroom, and then the
Hmm.
hallways, and then
Hmm.
these weird studio
Yeah.
TV screen sets.
Yeah. So I did it alone. Like I said, it was I had a low budget, so I didn't have a time or money to find a location scouter.
Hmm.
So I did it alone, but I knew New York, you know, well. I had
Yeah,
lived in New York City for 8 years, so I knew New York City. I knew where I should go to find places.
right.
Also, I use the Peerspace. It's a real good tool
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
find,
right,
yeah,
right.
find the right place, right location for you know filmmakers. So yeah, so I did it alone. But,
And where are you from originally?
originally from South Korea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you went from South Korea to New York City, or?
No, no, I moved to the US when I was a teenager. So I moved to Georgia first. I went to school there, and then I moved to Philly to attend college, and then I moved to New York City.
Got it. Got it. So back to the location special effects, the hallway scenes, where it's kind of wavy,
Yeah,
fluid.
yeah.
That's really trippy. Uh, what does that represent, and how did you create that?
That also represents her not being in reality. She doesn't know where she is,
Mm,
in that sense. So she's just trying to figure out how to exit that in a moment that in reality. So
mm,
she's trying to find the exit, and so in a way, like the all that trippy moment or the glass barrier, also like encountering different versions of the cops, that
yeah,
represents like her being in a lucid dream state, but she
yeah,
doesn't know yet. She just wants to get out.
right,
She doesn't know where she is. So,
right. Yeah. Well, and she kind of finally does get a little sleep, right?
yes,
But it's
about two
still
hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
But there's more to come, I think, with that ending scene,
yeah, yeah,
right? The dark figure is still with us.
yeah.
Uh, well, it's a fantastic film. We really loved it here at SF Indie Fest.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what's next for you?
Um, I have a feature movie that I'm trying to develop. That's from my short movie, which is very, very different from Nyctophobia. So it's a traditional dramatic film, which is about World War II.
Yeah.
So
And do you think you'll film it where you live now, or are you gonna like in LA, or you
um,
just wherever it takes you?
for now, I want to shoot it in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. But that depends on the budget, really.
Right, right, sure. Well, we look forward to seeing it. And anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you?
Um, no, not really. You covered everything.
Well, I could talk to you a lot more, but I got more to do here. But it was a wonderful film. Thank you for making. Congratulations on making
Thank
it and
you.
getting into our film festival.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
hope to meet you in person someday.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. See you.